everyone. Welcome back to Learn English with Podcast. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Tony. It's great to have you here with us today.
Today's topic is really important. We are going to talk about stress. We all have it sometimes, right, Tony?
Absolutely, Nikki. Stress is something everyone experiences. But what exactly is stress?
Good question. Stress is your body's way of responding to any kind of demand or threat. When you feel threatened, your nervous system responds by releasing stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones prepare your body to take action in an emergency, which is called the fight or flight response.
Right, Nikki. But stress isn't always a bad thing. It can help you stay focused, energetic, and alert. For example, stress can help you perform well during a job interview or an important test.
That's true, Tony. However, when stress becomes too much or lasts too long, it can be harmful. It can affect your mood, your body, and your relationships.
Exactly. Too much stress can lead to problems like headaches, high blood pressure, heart problems, diabetes, skin conditions, asthma, arthritis, depression, and anxiety.
So, it's very important to learn how to manage stress. Tony, what causes you stress?
Good question, Nikki. For me, work can be stressful. When I have too many things to do, I feel stressed. Also, when things don't go as planned, I feel a lot of stress.
I know what you mean. I get stressed when I have too much to do as well. I also feel stressed when I have to speak in public. It makes me really nervous.
Public speaking is a big one for many people. It can be very stressful. Do you have any tips on how to manage that stress, Nikki?
Yes, I do. I try to prepare well. The more I practice, the less stressed I feel. Also, taking deep breaths helps me calm down.
That's a good tip. I also try to take deep breaths when I'm stressed. Another thing that helps me is taking breaks. When I'm working and feeling stressed, I take a short break to relax.
Breaks are really important. Sometimes, just stepping away for a few minutes can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And exercise helps too. When I exercise, I feel less stressed. It's a great way to release tension.
Yes, exercise is fantastic. I like to go for a walk when I'm stressed. It clears my mind and helps me feel better.
Speaking of feeling better, laughter is a great way to reduce stress. Do you have any funny stories about stress, Nikki?
Oh, I do. Once I was so stressed about a presentation that I forgot to change out of my pajamas before leaving the house. I didn't realize until I got to the office. Everyone had a good laugh, and it actually made me feel less stressed.
That's hilarious. I bet it did. Laughter is indeed a great stress reliever.
It really is. So listeners, remember, it's important to find what works for you to manage stress. Whether it's taking deep breaths, taking breaks, exercising, or laughing, find what helps you.
Exactly. Now we're going to hear from our guests about their experiences with stress. We have some interesting stories lined up.
Yes, we do. But before we bring on our first guest, let's summarize what we've talked about so far. Stress can come from many places like work or speaking in public. To manage stress, you can take deep breaths, take breaks, exercise, and laugh.
Great summary, Nikki. Now, let's welcome our first guest. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. As we mentioned earlier, today we have some special guests who will share their stories about dealing with stress. Our first guest is a psychologist who specializes in stress management.
Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Neil. Hi, Dr. Neil. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Nikki and Tony. It's great to be here.
We're excited to have you with us today. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Of course. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I have been working in the field for over 10 years. I specialize in helping people manage stress and anxiety. I also teach stress management techniques.
That's fantastic. So, Dr. Neil, can you tell us a bit about how you help people deal with stress?
Sure, Tony. I use a variety of techniques. One of the most important things is to help people understand what stress is and what causes it. Once we identify the sources of stress, we can work on strategies to manage it.
That sounds very helpful. Can you give us some examples of the strategies you teach?
Absolutely. One of the most effective strategies is deep breathing. It helps to calm the nervous system. Another technique is progressive muscle relaxation, which involves tensing and then relaxing different muscle groups in the body. This can help release physical tension caused by stress.
I've heard of those techniques before. Do you have any other tips for our listeners?
Yes, I do. It's important to maintain a healthy lifestyle. This includes eating a balanced diet, getting regular exercise, and ensuring you get enough sleep. These can all help reduce stress levels.
Those are great tips, Dr. Neil. Can you share a story about a time you helped someone manage their stress?
Of course. I once worked with a client who was very stressed about their job. He had a lot of responsibilities and felt overwhelmed. We started by identifying the specific things that were causing their stress. Then we worked on time management skills and relaxation techniques. Over time, he learned to manage their stress better and felt more in control.
That's a great success story. It shows how effective these techniques can be.
Yes, it does. Dr. Neil, what do you think is the most common cause of stress for people today?
I would say that one of the most common causes of stress today is the fast pace of life. People have a lot of responsibilities and feel like they don't have enough time to get everything done. This can lead to feelings of being overwhelmed and stressed.
That makes a lot of sense. What advice would you give to someone who is feeling overwhelmed by their responsibilities?
My advice would be to take a step back and prioritize. Make a list of everything you need to do and identify what is most important. Focus on one task at a time, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
That's excellent advice. Dr. Neil, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Yes, I do. Remember that it's okay to feel stressed sometimes. It's a normal part of life. The important thing is to find healthy ways to manage it. Take care of yourself and don't be afraid to seek help if you need it.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Neil. Your insights have been really valuable.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
All right, listeners, let's recap what we learned from Dr. Neil. We talked about the importance of understanding what stress is and identifying its sources. We also learned some techniques to manage stress, like deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle.
Yes. And we heard a great success story about managing work-related stress. We also talked about prioritizing tasks and asking for help when needed.
Now, let's highlight 4 important words and phrases we learned today: nervous system, progressive muscle relaxation, balanced diet, and overwhelmed.
Nervous system is the part of your body that controls everything you do. For example, when you feel stressed, your nervous system releases stress hormones.
Progressive muscle relaxation is a technique where you tense and then relax different muscle groups. This helps release tension.
A balanced diet means eating a variety of foods in the right amounts. It's important for your health and can help reduce stress.
And overwhelmed means feeling like you have too much to do and you can't handle it all. For example, if you have too many responsibilities, you might feel overwhelmed.
Great explanations, Nikki. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. Neil. Now, we have another special guest with us, a mindfulness expert who will share their insights on dealing with stress.
Let's give a warm welcome to Sophia. Hi, Sophia. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Nikki and Tony. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. Sophia, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a mindfulness coach and have been practicing mindfulness for over 15 years. I help people learn how to be more present and aware in their daily lives, which can greatly reduce stress.
That sounds wonderful. Can you explain what mindfulness is for our listeners who might not be familiar with it?
Of course. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It means being aware of your thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they happen, without trying to change or ignore them.
That sounds very calming. How can mindfulness help with stress?
Mindfulness helps you become more aware of your stress and how it affects your body and mind. When you're mindful, you can recognize the signs of stress earlier and take steps to manage it before it becomes overwhelming.
Can you give us an example of a mindfulness exercise that our listeners can try?
Absolutely. One simple exercise is called mindful breathing. You sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Notice the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring your focus back to your breath. Try this for a few minutes each day.
That sounds like something anyone can do. Do you have any success stories from your clients who have used mindfulness to manage stress?
Yes, I do. One of my clients was a busy executive who felt constantly stressed. She started practicing mindful breathing for just 5 minutes a day. Over time, she noticed that she felt calmer and more in control of her stress. She even started using mindfulness techniques during her meetings and found that she was more focused and less reactive.
That's an inspiring story. It shows how powerful mindfulness can be. Sophia, what other mindfulness techniques do you teach?
Another technique is called body scan meditation. You lie down and focus on each part of your body, starting from your toes and moving up to your head. You notice any tension or discomfort and try to relax each area. This can help release physical stress and make you feel more connected to your body.
That sounds very relaxing. What advice would you give to someone who is new to mindfulness and wants to start practicing?
My advice would be to start small. You don't need to meditate for hours. Just a few minutes a day can make a big difference. Be patient with yourself and try not to judge your progress. Remember, mindfulness is a practice, and it takes time to develop.
Great advice, Sophia. Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Yes, I do. Remember that mindfulness is about being present and accepting yourself as you are. It's a powerful tool for managing stress and improving your overall well-being. Be kind to yourself and take it one step at a time.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Sophia. Your insights have been really valuable.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
All right, listeners. Let's recap what we learned from Sophia. We talked about what mindfulness is and how it can help with stress. We learned about mindful breathing and body scan meditation, and we heard a great success story about using mindfulness in daily life.
Yes. And we learned some important words and phrases: mindfulness, mindful breathing, body scan meditation, and present moment.
Mindfulness is the practice of being aware of the present moment without judgment. For example, noticing your thoughts and feelings without trying to change them.
Mindful breathing is focusing on your breath and noticing the sensation of breathing. It helps calm the mind and reduce stress.
Body scan meditation is focusing on different parts of your body to relax and release tension. It's a great way to connect with your body.
And present moment means being aware of what is happening right now. For example, focusing on your current activity rather than worrying about the past or future.
Excellent explanations, Tony.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Sophia. Now, we have our final guest for today, a yoga teacher who will share their insights on dealing with stress.
Let's give a warm welcome to Helen. Hi, Helen. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Nikki and Tony. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. Helen, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a certified yoga teacher, and I've been teaching yoga for over 10 years. I specialize in using yoga to help people manage stress and improve their overall well-being.
That sounds wonderful. Can you explain what yoga is for our listeners who might not be familiar with it?
Of course. Yoga is a practice that combines physical postures, breathing exercises, and meditation. It helps to strengthen the body, calm the mind, and improve flexibility and balance.
That sounds very beneficial. How can yoga help with stress?
Yoga helps reduce stress by calming the mind and relaxing the body. The physical postures help release muscle tension, the breathing exercises help focus your mind, and the meditation helps you stay present and centered.
Can you give us an example of a yoga exercise that our listeners can try?
Absolutely. One simple exercise is called child's pose. You kneel on the floor, sit back on your heels, and then stretch your arms forward while lowering your forehead to the ground. It's a very relaxing pose that can help relieve stress and tension.
That sounds like something anyone can do. Do you have any success stories from your students who have used yoga to manage stress?
Yes, I do. One of my students was dealing with a lot of stress at work. She started coming to my yoga classes and practicing regularly. Over time, she noticed that she felt much calmer and more relaxed. She even said that her sleep improved and she felt more balanced in her daily life.
That's an inspiring story. It shows how powerful yoga can be. Helen, what other yoga techniques do you teach for stress relief?
Another technique is called breath of fire. It's a rapid, rhythmic breathing exercise that helps energize the body and clear the mind. You sit comfortably, Inhale and exhale quickly through your nose while keeping your mouth closed. It's great for reducing stress and increasing energy.
That sounds very interesting. What advice would you give to someone who is new to yoga and wants to start practicing?
My advice would be to start with gentle poses and focus on your breath. Don't worry about being perfect. Yoga is about finding what feels good for your body and mind. And most importantly, be patient with yourself.
Great advice, Helen. Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Yes, I do. Remember that yoga is a practice. It's a journey of self-discovery and self-care. Be kind to yourself and enjoy the process.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Helen. Your insights have been really valuable.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
All right, listeners, let's recap what we learned from Helen. We talked about what yoga is and how it can help with stress. We learned about child's pose and breath of fire, and we heard a great success story about using yoga to manage stress.
Yes. And we learned some important words and phrases. Muscle tension, rhythmic breathing centered in self-discovery.
Muscle tension is the feeling of tightness in your muscles. For example, yoga can help release muscle tension caused by stress.
Rhythmic breathing is a type of breathing where you follow a regular pattern. For example, breath of fire is a rhythmic breathing exercise.
Centered means feeling balanced and calm. For example, meditation can help you feel centered and present.
And self-discovery means learning more about yourself. For example, practicing yoga can be a journey of self-discovery and self-care.
Excellent explanations, Tony.
Thank you, Nikki. Now let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned today. We've talked about stress and how it affects us, and we've learned some great techniques for managing it.
Yes, from Dr. Neil, we learned about deep breathing and progressive muscle relaxation. From Sophia, we learned about mindfulness and body scan meditation. And from Helen, we learned about yoga and specific poses and breathing techniques.
It's been a really informative episode. We hope our listeners found these tips helpful and can use them in their daily lives to manage stress better.
We've had a fantastic discussion today about stress and different ways to manage it. From deep breathing and mindfulness to yoga and meditation, we've explored some effective techniques that can really make a difference in your daily life.
That's right, Nikki. We heard from experts like Dr. Neil, Sophia the mindfulness coach, and Helen the yoga teacher. Each of them shared valuable insights and practical tips that you can start using right away.
Absolutely. And remember, managing stress is not just about dealing with the pressures of life, but also about taking care of your overall well-being. Whether it's taking a few deep breaths during a hectic day, or practicing yoga to unwind, finding what works best for you is key.
And don't forget, it's okay to ask for help if you're feeling overwhelmed. Talking to a friend, family member, or even a professional can make a big difference.
Before we wrap up, we want to remind you to practice these techniques regularly. Set aside a few minutes each day for deep breathing, mindfulness, or yoga. Consistency is key to seeing the benefits.
And of course, we'd love for you to continue learning with us. Subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also like and share our episodes with your friends and family who are also learning English.
That's right. By listening to our podcast daily, you'll not only improve your English skills, but also gain valuable knowledge on a variety of topics, just like today's discussion on stress management.
Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found today's episode helpful and enjoyable.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in. We look forward to having you with us again next time on Learn English with Podcast.
Take care, everyone. Remember to stay calm and keep practicing those stress management techniques.
Bye for now.